with regard to Bitcoin as an asset, right? We talked about why it's harder and why it's smarter, because you can program it, but it's also stronger. And the stronger is an important thing, right? Strong is about channeling energy with force and acceleration. I walk into the ring, we're going to fight. If I punch slowly, I could be strong, but if I'm slow, I don't win. The fighters that win have explosive force.
Right.
Like you could be stronger than me, but if I can strike you before you strike me, I can knock you out.
Right.
And so it's all about how explosively you can channel that energy. And that's what an arrow is, or a sling, or a bullet. It's, it's not the guy that's the biggest, strongest, fastest that wins. It's the guy that puts a bullet in your head first that wins.
Right.
And so we know that in military combat, if we think about stronger in the context of money, it's all about channeling monetary energy with force and acceleration. So that means on a Saturday afternoon from a standing start, if you have $10 million, can you figure out where to put the $10 million to generate the most yield? Like that, I need software.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I had 10 million in gold, I can't do anything with it on a Saturday afternoon. On the other end, if I have $10 million of Bitcoin and I wrap it with the server, and if the server scans through 1,000 institutional counterparties and then it finds the bid, then I could chop my 10 million in Bitcoin into 10 pieces. I could send 1 million to Tokyo, 1 million to Beijing, 1 million to Berlin, 1 million to London. I could leave some of it outstanding for a 1-week loan, some for a 1-month loan, some for a 1-year loan. If the circumstances change, right? If you're pledging some other kind of collateral and I'm marking it to market and it changes, I can snatch back my assets. And so the ability to channel the energy and move it where I need to move it intelligently, fast. What if I make you a loan of $1 million at 12% interest on Saturday, and then you come back to me 4 minutes later and you want another $1 million, and you'll pay me 12% more? And what if I like your credit? Well, I mean, in the virtual world, in the Bitcoin world, I can just send another $1 million. What if you come back and say, okay, I'll take 10 million and give you 14%. I just need it for 3 days, 3 hours. That's force, right? You can't do that with gold ever. And if I had a bond or Apple stock or something like that on a Saturday, it's not moving. But realistically, I'm giving you an extreme example, right? Because it's kind of magical, right? Your computer server is making you money by scanning the networks on a Saturday afternoon. But I don't have to be that extreme. For example, if you actually have $100 million of Apple stock sitting with the wirehouse, a big bank, pick up the phone and tell them, you found someone that's willing to give you 3% interest on the Apple stock. They would laugh at you. Well, we don't give interest on that. You're like, well, could you just loan it out to this other party that's willing to give you that? No. When's the last time you got interest on your stock assets from the bank or the trustee that's holding the stock? By the way, never. They don't do it.
No.
Okay. So let's go through the thought experiment. You have $100 million in cash. You put it in a savings account back in 1980. It gives you 5% interest. You have $100 million and you put it into Apple stock and they give you a dividend. Okay, good. Now the bank loans your Apple stock to someone that's going to short the Apple stock. Right. They short it. They sell it for $100 million. They take their cash. They put it into something yielding 5% interest. They keep the 5%. What do you get? Nothing. Your asset got rehypothecated or hypothecated. You didn't get paid. And yet, if you had $100 million in a market basket of stocks, why shouldn't you get a yield on it? The reason you don't get a yield on it is because conventional financial industry doesn't have an incentive to do it nor a need to do it. They just so they don't. And what causes people to do that is competition. Sometimes, by the way, it needs to be competition across regulatory domains, because if if I can get all the regulators in my country to agree that we won't do this, then we're all,
colluding. Yeah.
It's a collusion and a regulatory capture. And so when you have a cross-domain asset, it's less likely you'd have regulatory capture. And so ultimately, the strength of Bitcoin comes from the fact that an individual can self-custody. And so if the individual can custody and they can do it in any of 200 different regulatory jurisdictions, they can find the jurisdiction where they will have the strongest money, where they can generate the most yield, and they can move to that jurisdiction.
Right.
Whereas, you're not going to be able to convince that mega bulge bracket bank to move to that jurisdiction and give you the most favorable terms, because they have no interest in that.
Right.
So that's what Stronger is all about. And then faster comes back to the idea that we've dematerialized the gold. And because we've dematerialized the gold, there's no mass. And if E equals mc squared and the m goes to 0, then we get the c squared, with very little e. Or we just get the c. We can actually get to the speed of light because we have no mass. And that, when we think about $100 million of gold, back to my 3,000 pound idea or 3,000 pound metaphor, that's $250,000 every time you go around the earth. Mm-hmm. So what if I want to sit it around the earth every week? What if I want to sit it around the earth every day? What if I want to sit around the earth every hour?
Can't even do it. Yeah.
The amount of energy that you consume is just prohibitive. And so faster means that I can send it at the speed of light. And if I can send it at the speed of light, then there's all sorts of high frequency transactions and microtransactions that make sense now that never made sense before. How about a world where one rich person makes loans to 10,000 middle-class people every week, right? That's inconceivable with gold. That's not possible with stocks or bonds because of sometimes it's regulatory compliance issues, or it might be systems issues, right? But it is possible to imagine with Bitcoin, someone will just create the eBay of social finance. And what about one rich person that wants to lend money to 10 institutions? What about 10 institutions that want to work with each other, right? Ultimately, the things that make something slow, it might be mass, like physical mass, like the weight of gold, that makes slow. It might be impedance, and the impedance might be a systems impedance. It's Friday afternoon, and I cannot move money between 4 p.m. on Friday and 9:30 a.m. on Monday. That's a systems. It's not a law. It's just a custom.
Right.
And if it's on Thanksgiving or Christmas, well, then that doesn't count either. And then there's compliance, right? There is a law, right? There might be a regulation in a city, a state, or a country that keeps the energy from moving. There might be a system that keeps the energy from moving, or there just might be laws of conservation of mass that keeps the energy from moving. And so by moving out of that domain into the cyber domain, you get speed, which is somewhere in the order of 1,000 to 1 billion times faster. You put all those together, something that's just continually getting, and it's getting smarter every year, right? I mean, we've all seen, like on Google, right? The computers beat humans on chess playing. The computers are beating us all on everything. The algorithms just keep getting smarter. Wouldn't you like an algorithm that figured out how to make you money while you're sleeping? Because I would.
Yeah.
Program trading, right? The manifestation is program trading right now. And that the issue is consumers don't have the power of program trading algorithms to protect their financial interest when their monetary energy is denominated in traditional assets, because they can't plug their assets into that new system.